Okay, so we are here today. We are going to discuss about remedies in rainy weather, and we have Dr. Alpesh and myself, Dr. Gaurang. So I think Dr. Alpesh practices in Bombay in a place where he sees a lot of cases of acute fever, cold and cough. So I thought it would be good for us to learn from him. And so, Dr. Alpesh, over to you.
Yeah.
Please share with us.
So thank you for the opportunity again, and it's been a good time recording these videos because sometimes clinical experiences help others learn, and especially those who are beginners. So when I was a student, and it always used to be like fevers is only about aconite and belladonna, and
Or
these two
rust
remedies
ox.
or rust talks, and these used to be the main key remedies where it's dry heat, then you give aconite, it's perspiring slightly, you give belladonna and something for rust talks, and other remedies were never explored. But when you get into a clinical practice and patients come and give varied symptoms, it's interesting that you learn newer, the same remedies which are polycrests, but in a different way. You look at them in a different way. So, suppose a patient uh, comes to you. I mean, it happened with me once where one patient came and he told me that he has this. Yes. So he was a child, 10-year-old child, and there was, how do I enlarge this? Yeah. So there was this kind of feverish feeling since the past 2-3 hours, mostly in clinics where you are the only person, only doctor available in the nearby locality. It's a housing complex. People don't want to go far, so people report to you very fast in the earliest possible way, and there are not much symptoms developed. So fever since the last 2-3 hours, stool, urine, appetite, thirst, everything is normal. What can you probe more in the case? And then the mother says that he has a bit of pain in the legs, एंड देन द चाइल्ड टेल्स मी दैट ऐसा कुछ खिंचाव जैसा लग रहा है, कुछ ऐसा दर्द कर रहा है, ऐसा समथिंग लाइक दैट इन लोकल लैंग्वेज. And then it's very interesting to find some remedies which have these kind of prodromal symptoms. So these, you call these as the prodromal symptoms in your in the fever fever cases. So there are three interesting rubrics which I would like to show to all the viewers, and we go to Kent repertory. Yes. So you see Kent repertory and three rubrics are there. There is lower limb chill before. So there is extremity pain, lower limb chill before, if we see. And the only remedy mentioned is Nux vomica. Then there is drawing pain in the legs before the chill. Only remedy mentioned is Nux vomica. And there is drawing pain in the thighs as well before the chill, which is Nux vomica. So very marked symptom of Nux vomica having drawing pains. It's a khichao, it's a pulling type of pain which happens before the fever, and it's very interesting that only remedy being Nux vomica and it helps the patient. So that's how in the early cases of fevers where very less symptoms are developed, patients will report to us with only one or two symptoms, and we have to decide on the remedy based upon those symptoms available. What? Yeah. So what would you like to add into this? I mean, very
This is
few
interesting
symptoms
that
and
I think this is interesting that one of your main clinical highlight is the way in which you use this Kent repertory and some interesting clinical rubrics that you have confirmed, which are very interesting actually.
yeah.
I remember one of my cases.
Okay.
This was a case of an old guy and with a lot of cough and wheezing and rattling, and we had prescribed antimony tart to this patient, but it was not helping. And the main thing was that everything started after change in weather to rainy weather.
Okay.
So at this point, I'll show you how I went into the case. I looked into the repertory. Let's see. And go weather.
Right.
And then
Cloudy or change. Right.
damp. You can have a damp weather. Weather damp, aggravated by, and then Actually, it's cold damp.
Almost similar and very close by.
Yeah. So if you open whether cold damp aggravate in old people,
Old people.
and you will see a remedy there that is
Ammoniacum.
ammoniacum,
Interesting.
which is interesting because if you open ammoniacum is also known as the old people's antim tart,
Yeah.
and there were very interesting indications for it. You can see it's a remedy for aged, feeble, especially bronchitis, sensitive to cold, and many indications like that. But what is also interesting, which I wanted to tell you, was that it is especially in cold, damp weather. This is a very important
Yeah,
remedy. That
right.
that wheezing in old, damp weather when
Almost like antim tart,
when
but
antim
then
tart
the
fails.
constitution is old people.
So this is
Right.
a very interesting. So the idea is when we know rustox, we know antim tart, we know arsenic, but how to use them would be what would be interesting here.
Right. So similarly, when we progress in our practice, patients come and give symptoms, and we have to decide on the remedy in the shortest possible time, the acuity of the complaints, and the shortage of symptoms. So once it so happened that the one of the patients brought me his daughter, and the daughter was away from home for the past 2 3 days, and she developed fever. Now the weather was pretty good. It was there were thunderstorms, but not raining. But it was interesting that the child was away from home, and the mother and father didn't quite looked at this point. The child developed fever. The child had a lot of headache, occipital region pains, and then the child told me that I'm having. I was missing my mom and dad wherever I had been to my relatives' place. So one of the key remedies which we see in fever for these emotions, for such cases where the emotions are predominant, and we need to uh, tap into those symptoms. So we see that this has prodrome. The Gelsemium remedy has sudden mental symptoms, emotions, and anticipation of unusual ordeal, fright, grief, bad news may hasten, chill, or produce diarrhea. So, because the child was away from home, she was missing her parents, she was having a lot of emotions, anxieties, or feelings that she is away from home, and she developed fever. It was very unusual kind of a fever, and that's where I tapped into it, and I could help this small child in the fever case.
For me, one of the most important indication for gelsemium, and you can see this in Kent repertory, is you can see this rubric, held desire to be in chills.
Lie down.
So in the chills, gelsemium, what I've seen, they want someone with them, or when they are feeling chilly and rigors are on, they want someone to hold them. So
In fact, in clinging rubric, we have gelsemium
we
as
have,
well.
but this is not clinging. This is
Yeah.
held desire to.
Yeah,
So
right.
this is very interesting.
In fact,
of
in
gelsemium.
chill symptom, in the rubric chill, we see that there is a mention of gelsemium in many of the rubrics where the chill begins in the back. So you see chill beginning in the back, and also somewhere in the arms the chill begins, hands. So gelsemium is one of the very important symptoms. So
In
where-
lower extremities.
Exactly.
Even in upper lower, beginning
Yeah.
from upper lower, gelsemium comes very
So
high.
we may ask
Even
the
here,
patients.
hands and feet, you can
Hands
see
and feet.
gelsemium. In
Gelsemium
fact,
is there.
gelsemium and natramur, these two are top remedies.
Top remedies
I
for
often
that.
found gelsemium acute of natramur in fevers.
All right, that's a very nice search today we learned. So I would elaborate a few important points where causations have been very importantly marked in many of the fever cases. Where, for example, fever has happened because of indiscretions in diet. We very well know the remedies Ipecac, but Ipecac will also have maybe headache or profuse flow of saliva. So all these learnings we'll get to know from Allen's fever book, which is there in our library, in our literature. We also have this interesting remedy pulsatilla, where many of the diet related problems, dietary indiscretions, if you see what is the cause. So you see, eating rich food, we all know these remedies, but it is having a dietary disturbance, which always points to pulsatilla as a remedy. And then one of the very important remedies in damp weather, which we shouldn't forget, is Arenia diadema, and we had discussed a bit about it last time. And lot of rain pouring down, and then the home becomes damp because of the air, because of the water, because of the surroundings. And in such cases, we can apply Arenia diadema if there are only chills and long-lasting chills, very less heat and very less sweaty stage.
Yeah, so what he is saying, very interesting. Arenia diadema is very hydrogenoid, as we must have seen.
Yes.
And if we go in Arenia diadema, let's see, I'm opening Arenia diadema. And there are some very interesting rubrics that we have used clinically. And you can see some of them are very interesting. These, look at this rubrics. Shaking long lasting in chills not ameliorated by anything, without
Yeah.
heat. It's written here, have a look. Shaking long lasting 24 hours without heat. So a patient
So
would
it
be
is so
constantly
prolonged.
chills
Constantly
without
chilled.
heat.
Yes.
And they want warmth which does not relieve. This is Arenia diadema.
Yeah.
So this is very, very interesting to prescribe Arenia diadema in this particular way.
Yeah. So, what other remedies you feel in fevers are very helpful from the weather point of view?
I think rainy weather, what we normally think of rustox and Dulcamara and Atromycin. But what I have seen is there are many other remedies that we could think of. For example, I'll give you 2-3 interesting indications. Especially in rainy weather, we have nose blocks. Whenever there's an infant, a small baby who has a nose block in rainy weather, directly Dulcamara is the remedy.
Dulcamara is the only remedy in boric repertory for
Infarctum
horizon
materia medica
pneumonias.
also.
Definitely.
Now, if you see a little adult with rainy weather and lot of clogging of the nose, okay, with lot of thick yellowish greenish clogs, naturally we think of a remedy like Kali bichromicum. But one of the very important remedies is the remedy elapse. So if you open elapse from boric materia medica and you read, you'll see chronic nasal catarrh
with fetid
with
odor
fetid
and
greenish
crust.
crust, yellow greenish discharge, whole nose totally inside with mucus, pain from nose to ears, nostrils stopped up. And as you know, all the reptile remedy, including elapse, naja, have worse from rainy weather.
Rainy weathers,
You can see
yes.
how it is given. Wet weather aggravates.
Definitely.
So this
definitely.
is a very,
One of-
very
one of-
interesting indication. Elapse.
Yeah.
We can use it more often.
Yeah. In fact, I have used more often of Lemna minor, which has been very helpful in such cases of nose blocks and nasal problems in the rainy weather. So very lot of rain is going on and lot of coryza is there, and
In
especially
fact, there is
nose
a very
block.
interesting rubric for lemna minor. Let me show you. See, you can see. You can see. Have a look here. Obstruction in cold, wet weather.
Wet weather.
Interesting to have
Yes,
lemna minor.
definitely.
And another thing about lemna minor that is worth knowing. This is taught to me by Vijay Vaishnav, obviously. It is the only remedy in Boric where it's written heavy rains.
Heavy rains.
Everywhere else there is rains, but lemna minor has heavy,
Heavy
rains.
rains. So it
So
will
if you are
suit Mumbai
if
more
you are in
often.
Mumbai and it's crazy amount of heavy rains, don't think Rustox thinks of a
Something
remedy
else
like
which
lemna
helps.
minor. So lemna minor also, as we know, is top remedy for nasal polyps and including with Teucrium marum varum.
Teucrium marum varum, yes.
Another
definitely.
interesting indication which I wanted to share with you recently was we in in uh, in rainy weather you will often find bone pains. Old
Right.
people will come with bone pain, joint pains, and they are not better by motion. They just want to sit in one place, and they just tell you about lot of bone pain.
Pains all the time. Yeah.
And there isn't enough indication for restaurants. In these type of situations, I have used the remedy Stillinga.
Stealing.
So if you see boric repertory, let's go to boric repertory, and you can see a lot of bone pains in this remedy. And along with that, you can also see aggravated dampness.
Dampness.
So bone pains in dampness, it's a, you can see bone pain in damp weather. Stillinga is a very interesting remedy just to have a look. It has chronic periosteal. It's a little syphilitic kind of remedy also in liver pathologies. But I think we can use it. You can see aching pain. It's interesting. So when you don't have Rostop's like symptoms, so you can think about remedies like
Still, definitely. So moving further with fevers, what I've always seen that many cases of fevers, we are discussing single remedies right now, cases where there are single remedies, but there are not many cases where single remedies help. So there was one interesting case with me where the fever was not going better, and the patient reported to me one of the days, and I would just share the case I have in my
Sure.
PowerPoint so we understand it
I
much
can open
better.
it little
Yes.
for you. I'll open it. Can just better.
Yes, better. So
You can.
yes. So this was a case where this patient reported to me one of the days, and there was a lot of fever on certain date, and the next day she reported to me, and there was chill all over the body. There was after the chill, she had this chilliness feeling, and then the heat happened, and then sweat was there, but it was not so marked. And then the catarrhal symptoms also started, where there was sneezing, coryza, cough, and there was a vomiting episode on the day when she reported to me, and there was pain in abdomen. So there are multiple symptoms. So many cases where we will have multiple symptoms in the cases of fevers. We will have to investigate a bit more with considering the pathology, considering the different symptoms in all the systems of the body, and move further with the case. So if you see the analysis of the case, there was chilliness all over, there was heat, there was sweat, there was sneezing, there was vomiting, pain in abdomen, and then when we try to repertorize, so earlier at that time when I used to do manual repertorization, I used Ellen as the reference for my repertorization, and if we see, there were irregular paroxysms. So after chill, heat started but sweat was not marked, and then symptoms were not relieved by sweat. Pain in abdomen was there, which was aggravated by pressure. So we have remedies coming like Nux vomica, belladonna, pulsatilla, arsenic. Now which remedy to choose? So at that time it was a very irregular phase. Pain in abdomen was very marked, aggravated by pressure, and there was a chilliness constantly which was there, which used to aggravate all the time. So Nux vomica was given at that day for to the patient. The next day when patient reported to me, there was better feeling in all the body parts, but there was heat, especially of the head. So now the heat has been localized. So we'll have to think about something which is complementary, and we know that sulfur is a very good complementary remedy for Nux vomica. The next follow-up, which is the 22nd, so 19th July, the first day she reported to me, 22nd July is the second and the third follow-up, and when I gave her sulfur, she felt better. Now moving further, what happened was interesting. She had severe weakness on the third day, on the 23rd, and then there was a lot of vomiting of undigested food. I got her investigated. Interestingly, her report showed me a very low platelet count, around 76,000. Now, it is very alarming for a homeopathic physician to handle such cases, and there needs to be good enough confidence for us to handle cases where blood counts are alarming. So it was interesting that there were two marked symptoms: lot of weakness and severe vomiting of undigested food. So here I thought of prescribing China. Now it's interesting what I read, and I would like to have Dr. Gaurang's views on this quote by Dr. Clark, who has told something about China, that there was some author named Alfonso Testi who placed China in a group of blood. What do you say? The ferrum group, where these remedies can have the property of making the blood. So I gave China, and the counts improved drastically in 2 days, and she was out of danger and much better. So if you can put some light on what this group was and how it has helped homeopaths learn the groupings of the remedies, it would definitely help others.
Yeah, so Testy was one of the first person who was able to categorize some group of remedies. Like he would call one group as ferrum group, one group as zincum group. Like that, he divided it to 7, 8 different groups, including which remedies act better on herbivores, which remedies act better on people who eat non-veg more. One of the groups is
Interesting.
ferrum group, and he claimed that all these remedies, which include in the ferrum group, including plumbum, phosphorus, china, have the power within it to kind of increase the RBC count, and
RBC
that's
count.
why maybe China Rs, China Sulf can be very important remedies in cases where there is a very low platelet, very low
Definitely.
hemoglobin. So that is one of the strongest point.
So
these
in this case, I was totally happy with the result, and I learned more about what test he does and what how he grouped the remedies. So in couple of days, the counts had been more than 1 lakh, and it quite boosted my confidence also in the early days of my practice. So this is where I would like to share with everyone that you may have homeopathic pointers, cause, symptoms of mind, prodrome, what is the type of fever, but don't forget the diagnostic pointers as well, which is how the fever has started, whether it is viral, whether it is malarial, whether it is dengue fever. See the symptoms, see the pathology, and then prescribe confidently based upon what remedies come into your totality, what remedies come into your picture. Any interesting case more you'd like to share, Gaurang, because uh, you also have been seeing a lot of patients which have fevers, and also
I
especially in
think
these weathers.
sure. There are two or three more interesting clinical indications which I'd like to share with you. One of the very important clinical indications that I want to share with you is so in rainy weather also it's important to divide it into basically two parts. One is cloudy, cold rainy weather, and another is warm rainy weather.
Yeah, because humidity also rises.
Yes. So
Especially.
in warm weather, when there is a warmness, there is more heat along with rains. The top remedy is bromium. That is when it's actually the time of bromium. While when it is cold and cloudy, the remedies change. For example, I'll give you an example. Now, let's see. Interestingly, let's open Fatak repertory, and if you open the rubric, rains aggravate. You will find arenia and the remedy phytolacca. Interesting. This is interesting to know this. Now, on the other hand, if you open dampness, rainy weather, you'll find along with Dulcama and Rasam, the top remedy also Calcarea carp. So I think a remedy like Calcarea carp shouldn't be forgotten in that context. Another very interesting tuberculinum. In many cases, rainy weather in children with wheezing and rattling, tuberculinum avis has helped very often. It's also very interesting. Another very important remedy which I'd like to tell you in rainy weather is Nux moscata. It's a very important rainy weather remedy. In fact, there is a very interesting case that I treated, a case of very bad back pain. Let me show you this. You can see this. This was a very important part of Nux moscata case that I prescribed. Spine stiffness worse in damp weather.
Interesting.
And
Single
this
remedy.
single remedy. This is in NAIR repertory, so direct proving symptom.
Proving symptom from
And
yeah.
and also had the entire state of Nux moscata, which was lot of drowsiness, dullness, and also extreme sensitivity. You know, Nux moscata is like Asarum europaeum. Slightest noise affects them, slightest emotion affects them.
Emotions.
So this was very strong of Nux moscata, which is also very interesting. Another two or three important things that I'd like to tell you, and this is a lot of research done on this particular thing. One of the top remedies, even in rainy weather, more than natrum sulf, I have used arsenic, and this is for people who prescribe a lot. If you open arsenic from boric repertory, and if you read the respiration part of it, and this is where I want you to focus.
Lot of humid and lot of damp weather aggravation will be seen.
Asthma, light night aggravation, cold damp aggravates.
Yeah.
Has to sit up. If you get this so strong, arsenic is top. I think it's one of the underused remedy in rainy weather.
Yeah.
So I believe, interestingly, arsenic iode is better by damp weather. So you should
Yeah.
also know which are remedy which are contraindicated.
Contraindicated.
Nux vomica, Hepar sulf, Spongia, Causticum, Aconite. These are all better in rainy weather, especially Medorinum. Very much better in rainy weather. For example, Spongia. If the patient is getting a dry cough, right, in rainy weather, don't give Spongia because Spongia always better in rainy weather. So
Yeah.
this is interesting clinical tip for
Clinical
you.
tips
You are
for
using Spongia, but it's not helping. The reason is because it's always better in rainy weather. except for Berridge has also put it in aggravated in rainy weather, but majorly it's known for worse in rainy weather. Now, one of the very interesting thing, I was talking to uh, Dr. Alpesh in the before we started. So if you open Nair repertory, you'll find very interesting cough, right? Especially in, let's say, cough aggravated or due to, let's see, in Nair repertory, there's only one remedy for rainy weather aggravates the cough, and you'll be quite shocked to know what the remedy is. The remedy is Baraita Cup. Have a look.
A new find.
Let's see where I can find it. You can see
Weather damp.
damp weather aggravate, single remedy Baraita Cup. Interesting, especially in children cases. And why this is interesting, I will now tell you a little bit more. If you open Dalka Mara, right, from Alan's keynote,
It's
yes, if you read Alan's keynote,
Yeah, yeah.
and you'll find it interesting, complementary.
complementary to Pareto.
So now you understand how they have connected these remedies, and this is so exciting to know.
In
how
fact, you should have one video on relationship of remedies as well.
I
It
think
will be an interesting learning for everyone because it's all about connections and how you connect different remedies in homeopathy.
connectivity is very important. Relationship of remedies is very important. I think it is very underused in homeopathy. I think we could talk for about an hour more.
In fact, there are many more cases, but we can keep it in phases so that the learning happens in installments and also everyone gets to know about things and learns and applies them and then they can
So, sounds good. So, I think Alpesh, we should tell them about your email ID also.
definitely.
This is Dr. Alpesh Oza @gmail.com, and this is my email ID Gaurang @g. The channel Homeopathic Hub. I'm publishing a lot of new books now very soon. Just wait for it, and you can write to me about it, and you can write to us about um, what you felt about today's talk and how we can.
What more topics they would like to cover because acutes are a bit of challenge and even in spite of we knowing our polycrates so well when they are applied in acute cases it's a good learning every time. So homeopathy is all about the learning process. Every time we learn something or new or the other. So that's what we have from us today,
Right.
and it was good sharing different experiences.
Okay, then we'll connect again.